I know Luis Arráez has a one-year deal. I know the Giants aren't very good, but why does that mean we need to trade him, right? I think we do this often in this sport, and in this sport alone, it's very unique, where you sign a guy 1 year deal. Not unique. It happens in the NBA, obviously, too. Not to say it doesn't, but especially in baseball, if the team isn't good and you signed a 1 year deal with the player and the player is playing well or decent enough, you try to move off of him and say, you're not part of our long-term plans. Well, I think your question right now, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, why shouldn't Arráez be part of their long-term plans? At least this, like the 2 to 3 year plan, right? And I think the pushback to that would be, well, we don't think by the time the Giants are good again, he's going to be that player. So,
yeah, but you're watching other young players tell you that he has been instrumental in their development.
I think that's a fair counterpoint.
You know, like, so
I don't know why they would trade him unless they feel like that they don't want him to be part of the plans going forward.
Who is giving you this massive haul, for like Luis Arráez?
No, you're not getting a massive haul. You're getting something you think of value to your organization because you feel like if this guy walks in free agency, you get nothing. So you want to get something at the very least now, as opposed to nothing in a couple months if he decides to walk away from the Giants.
Well, I'm working with the assumption that you're going to try to work a, multi-year deal for him. You look at some of these contracts outside of the Trevor Siemian one.
Marcus Siemian.
Trevor Siemian.
I forgot about Trevor Siemian, the quarterback.
Yeah. outside of the Siemian one, almost all of them are extensions for players that were retained with their original club, right? So Jake Cronenworth was a larger deal for him. They bought out some of his arbitration years and then gave him a larger deal. The Nico Horner one, same thing. They bought out some of his, his arbitration years and then, built into an extension there. Altuve, same thing. It's very rare that second basemen get 4 and 5 and 6 year deals in free agency after 30. That's what made Siemian so unique. They signed him and Seager simultaneously in that offseason, and they really overspent for those guys at the time.
And it worked out. Yeah.
And it worked out. It really did. But again, most of the mega deals at that position at second base tend to be, extensions of homegrown players. Right? Or guys that were already under some sort of a contract. Like the Marte one, he had a different deal, a 5-year deal, and then they extended him even more.
Absolutely.
So, I just don't see this 6-year contract for Siemian on the open market like other people see.
Now, I'm not giving Luis Arráez 6 years.
No, I'm talking about potential other teams.
No. If I'm another team, though, and I'm watching what this guy's doing, and if he's going to be an all-star, like Dave Fleming told us yesterday, and we'll play the sound, okay, 3 or 4 years, I'll give you $45, $50 million.
Well, if it's 4 for that low of a number, then I'm way more into it. But unless you got to be realistic, you got to pay these guys, right? Yes. And so that's why I'm looking at the average salary, the AAV, and I think that that's important. and to me, I think somewhere in the realm of a 3 or 4 year deal at about $15 million. 4 would be a lot. 4 is not I don't love 35-year-old second baseman, especially if I know that I'm going to keep Adames, and at some point he might have to transition to second base.
Sure.
So you've got to be really careful here. Part of why you're in the position that you're in is because you signed guys for too many years. Not too much money, too many years, right?
Yes.
Chapman's probably too many years.
Yes.
Adames probably too many years. Devers, it's a lot of years. Yeah. It's not the amount of money per year. So, hey, if he says, I'll sign a 3-year for $19 million a year, I think I'd do it. I really do. I think I would do it. And to me, it's not necessarily about, the haul that you would get back. I think he's really valuable to me for his on-field production. I think he's really valuable to me for what he means to young players and putting in hard work. I think he's really valuable to me because he's one of the few veterans on this team that has bought in to this coaching staff.
Yeah.
And if you're tied to Tony Vitello and you like this team, in terms of the coaching staff, you want players that are going to stand up in a room full of young guys as you transition this thing and say, these guys help me get paid. We need to buy in. I think it's important.
So how would you feel if they do trade Luis Arráez, though? What does that signal to you if Buster Posey and Manassian decide to move off this guy before the trade deadline?
Well, it would tell me that they think that Arráez thinks his market is probably bigger than what they're willing to give him.
Yeah.
they think they can get something back that's better than whatever the comp pick would be for him, because I think you get a, I don't know, late comp pick if he walks in free agency. And it would also tell me that they don't think they can move Chapman or Adames.
Yeah, because you feel like if they were going to give this guy a contract, that would have to mean one of those other guys are gone.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because that was the whole point of, you brought up Tyler Rogers, like, the whole point of him not coming back, what did he sign for? $40 million contract, 3 years?
Yeah.
Something like that.
In the $40 million range.
Exactly. They weren't going to give him that because of the contracts they had already dished out to the everyday players.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, them not even addressing the bullpen at all and trying to scrap it with just bits and pieces is blown up in their face.
You could argue spending money on Bader, Malley, and Hauser would have been better spent on...
Hindsight's always 20/20, but you're right, Joe. You're right. And he was always a good Giant. That's the frustrating part, too. He was a really good San Francisco Giant. And you want to keep guys like that within your organization. I'm looking at the ESPN Top 100 MLB trade deadline candidates, Joe. Jeff Passan's being a part of this, obviously the most tapped-in guy when it comes to baseball, trades, et cetera, et cetera. They have Luis Arráez ranked 13th out of 100 when it comes to the top 100 trade candidates. And chance of being traded, they put it 90%. 90% chance. So there is a chance he stays, Joe. It's not likely, but there is a chance.
I mean, there are some really good players at second base. You know, Bryce Terang has had a great year.
He's been great.
You know, there's some really good players. You know, Ozzie Albies ended up getting bought out. He's with Atlanta right now. And I thought really highly of him the last couple of years. I don't know, like, he's set to be a free agent in a couple of years. How do you feel about him?
Ozzie Albies? Started off really hot, right? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Batting .278 this year, 10 home runs. Like, I like him.
I do too.
He's 29, so like,
I think I'd rather have Arráez.
Doesn't he get hurt though? But I feel like he gets hurt every time I'm looking at him, like every single season.
But
yeah,
he's about the age of Luis Arráez.
No, they're the same age. Yeah, 29. Yeah. So,
wouldn't you rather have Arráez?
On this team, yes. Although Albies does offer a little more pop. Sure. But how much is that aided by where he plays?
Well, and 2 years ago, I thought Albies was a significantly better defender. Today, Luis has made big strides there.
Absolutely. But to your point, am I now so confident in guys' lack of defense, I could bring them into my organization if I have Ron Washington here, and he could be this defensive guru and help these guys out. That being said, Joe, Albies did start his career and has stayed with his career in Atlanta. Wasn't Ron Washington part of that early development there? Didn't really seem to work for Ozzie. So now I'm kind of talking myself into a circle here. You're right. It works on some guys if they want to do it, and the other ones, Ozzie hasn't improved.
I think he's a great case study on, he's
a really good offensive player, though.
No one wanted Luis. He sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there. The Giants gave him a chance. He's been awesome. He's completely bought in. I do believe on some level you want to try to reward those types of situations. And it's tough because you don't want to put yourself in a position to where in 2 years, let's say you sign a 5-year deal, that would be too many. And now you're stuck in a similar situation where you are now with Chapman. They've got a lot of middle infielders coming up. To me, it's a 2, 3, 4-year deal at most. And that's what you'd be looking at. And again, Joe, if I knew I signed Luis Arráez to a multi-year deal and Devers wasn't in the equation, well, this is a guy that could also play first base and DH.
Correct.
Which is what he did for the Padres over time. So,
well, that's why he'd be such a coveted piece, I think, for a team that's contending. Like, I would really want Luis Arráez on my team for that defensive versatility, playing multiple positions. And what plays in the playoffs always? Getting on base and hitting. Hitting will always play in the playoffs.
But the teams that would be looking to, find those guys, they need more corner third base help than they do second base help.
Sure.
I mean, look around the contenders that they're like, it's second base just isn't, I don't see, show me the contender. It's the Dodgers. The Dodgers are at the top. And we're not trading with the Dodgers.
Well, it's funny you say that because they have the best fit for the player on these things. They have Ray, they have like feels like a third of the league is the best fit. Rays, Nationals, Dodgers is the top 3. It's interesting. Yankees are up there. Blue Jays.
I don't like doing deals with the Rays because they always seem to know.
I'll say this, excuse me. The Yankees are in a lot of these conversations when it comes to players from the Giants. Chapman, Arráez. Hell, actually, for Chapman, who's also on this list, he's number 20 of the MLB top 100 trade candidates. They have the A's as number 2 there. You were on that early. I got to give you credit.
What, Chapman?
Yeah, they have him as like a potential like trade for the A's.
The other element of this is we're discussing this. Everyone keeps putting Casey Schmidt at second base. Though he was okay there, I don't think he's a second baseman.
No, he's a third baseman.
That's what I think. But I don't think he's a shortstop.
Well, we have Chapman, so we all kind of understood, like, all right, platinum glove winner,
sure.
like paying him all that.
What I'm saying is everyone's like, trade Arráez, and then you put Chapman at second base.
You're saying no, trade Chapman, put Schmidt at third.
Yes.
Keep Arráez as long as you can.
And I would move Ramos too. Like Ramos, Casey has been an adventure. How many times did he spin around in left field? He still might be a better left fielder than Elliot Ramos.
No, he is. I trust Casey Schmidt, even though the adventure he is infinitely more than Elliot Ramos. It's true.
Doing pirouettes out there.
It's true.
But he's made plays.
I guess my other question is, if I'm Luis Arráez, how much do I value wanting to play on a postseason team right now? Like in contending for a title.
It's a great question.
That might be a big motivating factor for him, Joe, and I can't quantify that. And I don't know if you're the Giants and Buster Posey, can you sell this guy on, hey, like, we're probably not going to be contending next year, maybe the year after that. Are you willing to, stick around if we pay you the money you want?
Joe.
Like, that's a real question. I don't know.
This reminds me of, it's different because he's a better overall player in his sport. This reminds me a lot of Dante DiVincenzo at the Warriors.
It's interesting.
Right? Now, the Warriors were in a tough spot, and there was a variety of reasons on why they couldn't bring him back because he was on a mid-level contract. Yeah. So you could only give him so much money. It had to go to another team. But, like, there are certain guys that just fit certain cultures. And you're like, oh, that guy's like, look at Drake Greenlaw. I don't even know if he'll be good this year. He clearly did not fit whatever vibe the Broncos had.
No, it was toxic,
right?
Actually.
And so I look at it this way. Luis Arráez clearly fits. If he wants to be here, and again, who knows what he wants, Joe? Yeah. He might want to go to a contender, your point. Yeah. I think a lot of guys want to get paid and be, comfortable. And then, yes, winning would be the next step in that checklist. But if he wants to be here, I think you should be exploring options to bring him back at a reasonable number.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco and Odyssey Sports Station, and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always on the free Odyssey app. Coming live from the Laughing Monk Studios at Spadoni and Shasky with you. 1 hour down, 3 to go here. Talking Luis Arráez and Giants fans. All this talk about trading him, like, would you consider just keeping the guy and trying to extend him in the offseason?
And here's the other thing. Like, he leads the team in hits. He's on pace for about 180 200 hits, got 6 stolen bases. Casey has 7, so they're the 2 top dogs. The next closest guy is Jung Hoo Lee with 3.
Yeah.
They lead the team. He's got 39 runs scored. That leads the team, meaning times that he's gotten on base, someone's knocked him in, or he's knocked himself in on his own accord. He's played in 71 games. He's been extremely durable, all right? And he leads the team in triples. He fits the team, the lineup, and the ballpark as well as anyone has.
Well, and also, he's just a no-nonsense player. Everyone loves him. He has a smile on his face. Like, he has zero toxicity or drama surrounding him, which, again, in today's day and age, when it comes to sports teams, you mentioned Drake Greenlaw earlier. A big part of Dre is there's an ego with him last year, trying to come back onto the field, but it has the Sean Payton, it feels like a bunch. We had Benjamin Albright. Like, you don't get that with Luis Arráez. And as you said, he's kind of a low-key of a leader of this team now. So, like, taking guys like Jung Hoo under his wing. You don't think Bryce Eldridge is trying to pick his brain when it comes to plate discipline? Absolutely. Well, what a 1-2 punch that is right now.
And just approach at the plate.
Yeah.
I've been following Arráez on Instagram for a long time because he does all these tee drills and he puts these screen fences up and he works on just like going the other way and slapping the ball. He's a really fun player to watch. He's not as good in his sport as the guy I'm going to reference. But, like, in football, okay? I just want you to hear me out, though.
Sure.
In football, even if the Niners had, let's say, like an 8-9 year this year, okay? But Mike Evans was awesome. He's essentially on a 1-year deal.
Essentially, yeah.
Would we be clamoring for them to trade him at the deadline, or would we be like, re-sign Mike Evans?
Ooh, that's interesting. Because he is a little bit older. And if he had stayed healthy.
And let's say Deshaun Stribling's like, yeah, he's really helping me with my development.
You're keeping him because if you're 8-9 to your point, and like you feel like you're like just a game or two here and there away from, you're not trading him. So no, you're keeping him because you feel like you could turn the ship around. around. Thank you. With a P. Yeah, don't look at me like that.
I'm not in the business of giving away really good players unless I'm getting something back
of significant
that's
value.
Truly going to help me. That's truly going to help me. I understand the whole trade at the deadline. And I'm the guy who said trade Blake Snell because I thought you could actually get something of significance.
See, well, that's where we're at with Robbie Ray right now. Robbie Ray, you feel like you can still get something of significance, even with the ERA not being where you want it. So, that's why yesterday's start, I don't think we've talked about it enough. I know Arraez has kind of dominated the conversation because it's an interesting one we just don't talk about enough, and we just kind of shoehorn in, oh, he's a rental, so you just got to trade him. No. A guy like Robbie Ray, who's going to be on the wrong side of 30 coming up here, that's clearly showing wear and tear, is a guy you move off of, not double down on. That's the guy I'm trading immediately.
I agree.
And that's why yesterday his start, I think, was so important as we start getting more of these starts ahead of the trade deadline. 6 1/3, 2 hits, 8 strikeouts. Give me more of that, baby.
The other thing is okay, you referenced the Dodgers. Look at the big teams that at their second base. The Brewers have Turang. They don't need a second baseman.
No, they do not.
The Cubs have, obviously, Nico Horner. They don't need a second baseman.
No.
I think the A's have your boy McNeil.
Hey, Jeff McNeil, he's good.
Yeah, he's solid. He's a solid player. He's a solid player.
He's similar to Arraez in that he's a good contact hitter.
Right?
Yes.
The Yankees have Jazz at second base. And he's going to be a free agent. Yeah. And you want to talk about someone who has a disproportionate view in his head of what he's worth? Jazz Chisholm's going to try to look for that 5, 6, 7 year, $100 million deal. And I don't know if that's coming for him.
No, it's not.
But I look around at the very good teams in baseball who would want Arraez, and to me, I just don't see this crazy market. Because if you're not going to make a deal with the Dodgers, do you really want to make a trade deadline deal with Tampa Bay Rays?
Well, I think no.
I agree with you.
That's the answer. That's like making a trade with the Eagles in football. It's like making a trade with the Thunder right now in basketball. It's like there's certain teams I don't want to do business with because I don't want to be on the losing end of it. To your point, this is probably what Buster Posey Manassian is trying to tell Arraez, because I do think they want to keep him. Why would you want to get rid of him? There's no reason to get rid of this guy. He's been incredible for you this year. The only way and reason why is because you feel like he's not going to re-sign here. That's the only, so they had to have put their feelers out. I have no idea if he's going to stay or go. If he does stay, though, that does signal to me, and I should start getting excited if I'm a Giants fan, that they're going to extend him, right? That has to be the only, because every team is going to be calling about this guy. To your point, not to just be your second baseman, but for depth. If I'm the Dodgers, am I signing him or trading for him because he's going to be the everyday second baseman? Maybe, but I want the depth because the Dodgers know, hey, I'm an injury or two away from this guy being an everyday guy for me now. Because teams like that feel like they're so close, even the Yankees, I feel like, give me another depth piece. I could have another player, sure. Give me Luis Arráez. I'm not going to give you a lot because I view him as a depth piece, not an everyday guy, and that's kind of what you're getting at right now. I don't think a lot of people are viewing him as their everyday solution at second base.
I would agree with that. But for you, he has been, if I were to ask Giants fans, happiest you've been about a player this year, it would be Bryce, Jung-Hoo Lee, Casey. But if we're going from the beginning to now,
Arraez should be number one. We don't talk about him enough, actually.
He's been so fun, and I just love his professional approach. No nonsense. He's got just enough swagger. He's made every play at second base. He's just a solid, good ball player. And this team just can ill afford to move off of solid, good ball players.